Hey, Vision. Okay, you looking forward to Thanksgiving? All right, how many Black Friday early morning shoppers we got? Black Friday? Wow, going down. Okay, well, I'll beat you out there and I'll get the deals. Psych, I am not going out Friday morning. No, that's not me. But we're talking about miracles, starting a new series called Miraculous. And I believe God has got some amazing things in store for us the next 5 weeks. And you'll have a chance to take some more invite cards with you today. Take a handful of them. Just like this week, I was out there passing them out, giving them to people. And it's fine if they say no. They'll take them with them. They'll maybe take them home. And eventually someone's going to say yes, 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 and be here where God wants them to be. And especially the weekend, December 19th and 20th. We're having a Saturday night service that week in addition to our Sunday morning. And we think God is going to do some amazing things over the next 5 weeks. So miraculous. Let's talk about miracles. Is anybody old enough to know who this group is? Remember who it is? Those are the Miracles. I guess I didn't really know their music much, but I hear they were good. How about the group came by later and sang, All I Need is a Miracle, All I Need is You. So who's that? Mike and the Mechanics. Okay, that's some pretty good tunes. All right, how about this movie? Anybody know Miracle on 34th Street? Yes. And then does anybody remember this super incredible special moment in American history sports? Remember that? Where Al Michaels said, do you believe in? Yes. And they had an incredible moment as a country with our hockey team. Now, a couple years ago, when our local football team was struggling, you might have said, wait a second, to get to this point would have taken a miracle. But actually, our Panthers are 9-0. And so let me kind of take it aside for a minute and talk about our Panthers, because we are actually going to kind of leverage Keekly and Cam and all those guys. And coming, not tomorrow, but the next Monday, we're starting something where we're going to give away 2 Panthers tickets to the Panthers game January 3rd against the Buccaneers. So next Monday, not tomorrow, but next Monday, we're going to start posting it, where if you get on there on the Vision Facebook page and share the announcement about December 19th and 20th, you'll be in the drawing for 2 tickets. So we believe that your sharing and then other people sharing is going to just cover up Gaston County and beyond to where really so many people will hear about what we're doing December 19th and 20th. It'll be standing room only. It'll be packed. People coming in saying, man, Vision, they're kind of like weird and off the charts and different. So yeah, we like football and stuff like that, but we love what God is doing in our life and in our church. So we want you to be a part of Vision at all these different angles. You got our takeaway card. If you hadn't picked one up yet, our Connection Center team has them, or if you got it, it's got today's notes and some verses to look at this week. Because as we talk about miracles, kind of brings up this term supernatural. For some people, it's like, oh man, that's strange. I don't understand supernatural. Supernatural simply is when something happens that's beyond what we can do in our natural selves. And I know in my life, there's a lot of times I say, God, I need you to do something beyond what I can do on my own. And when we look in the Bible, this guy named Jesus was doing stuff like this all the time. And if you came in today saying, Matt, I don't read the Bible or know the Bible or believe the Bible or really even understand about Jesus, let me tell you about this guy. In his ministry, he ministered for about 3 years. He was doing miracles all the time. Not 2 or 3 or 5 or 10. He did 34 recorded miracles. So in 3 years, that comes out to about 1 a month. You say, but that would be amazing to hang out with somebody who was doing a miracle every month. And yet, it's even greater than that. Because look at this verse in John 21. It says that Jesus, he did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room enough for the books that would be written. You think about that. Jesus did so many amazing things, they couldn't even record them all. So I want to learn about a guy like that and how he was doing miracles and why he was doing miracles, and even more so, how I could get him to do some miracles in my life. Now, there's 2 categories of Jesus' miracles to where we see his power shine and happen. The first one's in nature. And we're going to look at actually one today that was in nature. That, he's doing stuff with food. He's doing stuff with the wind and the waves, where he's making things happen that is totally supernatural in nature. The second category is he does miracles in people's lives. And there's kind of 3 different ways he would do it with people. The first one is curing. He would cure people of diseases. of sicknesses, of different ailments they had. He'd cure them. I think I would love to have a friend that could do that, and that would save you all those copays, right? Because you wouldn't have to go to the doctor. Then there's exorcism. He would cast demons out of people to where literally people were so violent, they would take a couple guys, try to hold someone down to get thrown off, and Jesus would walk up and touch. There'd be healing and exorcism. And then third, there was resurrection of the dead, that literally Jesus would come on the scene, and we're going to hear about this some next week. Jesus would come on the scene, death had happened, and he would cause resurrection to happen. Now, if you're a James Bond fan like me, you kind of remember back in Skyfall, previous movie, when James Bond kind of came back from the dead, and he was being interviewed, and they asked all these questions, and one of the questions was, what's your hobby? And he said, resurrection. Remember that? I thought, and I tucked that away, said, that's cute. I mean, that's cute that you could say, well, I kind of was dead or almost dead, came back. No. Jesus had the power to bring people back from the dead. That is miraculous. Now, Jesus, one thing I loved about him in his ministry, he never charged anybody for anything. He never took anything in exchange for what he did. He never tried to guilt somebody afterwards and said, look, I did this for you. Now you got to do something for me. It was freely given. His miracle power was a gift that he would share with anybody, and there wouldn't be anybody he wouldn't touch. He would touch the leper. He would touch the prostitute. He would touch anybody who had diseases that no one else would come near them. He would touch them. In fact, he would say, whatever your race, whatever your gender, whatever your age, whatever your social status, none of those things would preclude you from Jesus working a miracle in and through you. And again, he did this to show his power. So let's talk about the value of miracles and really what they show us. And in a couple minutes, I'm going to do something that might shock you a little bit. It might shock you a little bit. Not like our opening day where we were throwing plates, breaking plates, or other times that we've had stuff up here that just, like gets in your world. But I'm going to bring something up here that you'll be talking about at work tomorrow, okay? Because Jesus, when he did miracles, did it to show us two things. Number one, the power of God through Jesus. The power of God through Jesus. Because God, in his infinite awesomeness, decided to send that power to earth through his son. And Jesus, in essence, was saying for 3 years of ministry, I am the Son of God. I have the power of God shining through me, coming through me, and I don't need to prove it to you, but I'm going to show you by doing these miracles. So we see the power of God through Jesus. The second is we see the power of God in us. This amazes me that God would take imperfect people like you and like me and say, I'm going to do miracles through you. That literally, when you accept my son as your Savior, my Spirit will live in you, and I will do miracles through you. And as part of what we're going to try to accomplish today is saying, God, how can you do miracles through me? I want to see you do that. And that excites me. Now, the central piece of that, though, it all hinges on faith. And this word faith, if you're like me, when I was growing up, I had some people that would speak into my life and say, Matt, that term faith is kind of like looking at a big dark pit and just jumping, saying, I don't know, something down there will catch me, or something will save me, or I won't get hurt. Faith is almost irresponsible. The thing is, when we look in the Bible, God says, no, faith isn't irresponsible. Faith is trust in the supernatural. Trust in something that maybe your mind can't grasp, that you can't understand. But God says faith is actually what you need to be a part of a miracle. So take a look in Hebrews chapter 11. In verse 6, God lays it out so clear. He says, without faith, it's impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him, who comes to God, must believe that he exists, and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. So look at my life and say, God, how's my faith? Because I think sometimes God looks at me and says, Matt, your faith isn't so strong this week. In fact, your faith is really waning. And say, God, help build my faith so that I can please you, so that you can do miracles, which will then grow my faith. I want that in my life. Well, there's a pattern. There's a pattern that we can look for if we say, God, I want to be a part of a miracle. Unfortunately, the first part of the pattern, there's got to be a problem. Some type of a deficit or a problem that happens that causes us, honestly, it catches our attention. Instead of just kind of clicking along in life, something happens, there's a deficit or a problem, and it makes us aware of that need. But the cool thing is the second thing in this pattern is there's us. There's a problem, and God's looking at it saying, I want to do a miracle, and then there's us. Hopefully there's me. Hopefully there's you. And God's saying, how's your faith? I want to work through somebody who believes in me and believes I can do miracles. So there's the problem. There's us, the person to work through, and then God shows his power. And I love that he shows his power through somebody who certainly is not powerful. I mean, I may think, okay, I can lift a weight or I can run a thing or I can think something. That's not power. Not when we're talking about healing and exorcism and resurrection of the dead and miracles. That I have no power to do those things. So God says, I want to work in you and through you, but there's kind of this mystery or amazement or wonder to miracles that I broke it down into some pieces. The first piece is timing. Because we say, God, there's a problem. Let's fix it today, right now. It's got to be this way. God says, I see it differently. I have different timing. And in fact, one of my friends, Mike, he says that God, he's got a sense of humor, but a lot of times God's the only one laughing. And it's the same thing with timing. We say, God, I know you got timing in this, but it's wrong. And God says, no. My timing's not wrong. You just need to think like me. You need to understand my timing is right. Now, the second piece of it is perspective. Perspective, that God looks at it differently than we do because we're right in the middle of it saying, God, I need a miracle like yesterday. I need it to happen. I am so frustrated or stressed or angry at you. Where's the miracle? And I was talking to my wife, Meg. She works with horses. And sometimes when you're working with horses, you have maybe moments like this where you say, I need a solution. This is so frustrating. I am mad. And the terminology in horse world is you're supposed to step back and say, how interesting. How interesting. Now, is that easy to do when you're right in the middle of this mess and you're supposed to step back and say, now how interesting, because something needs to happen here. Something needs to change. What am I supposed to learn in this? And God says it's the same thing with us. That our perspective, when the mess happens, and we say, God, I need a miracle, he says, step back and at least try to say, how interesting. God, what are you trying to teach me? Because let me tell you this. If you only get one thing today, only one thing, there's a maturity that comes from you saying, God, what are you trying to teach me in this? If you could internalize that today and say, whatever happens in your week that is causing you to think, God, I need a miracle, if you step back and say, God, what are you trying to teach me in this? That is such a step toward growing and maturing in your faith. Now, third thing in this, I love this. God, he bends laws. He bends laws of nature when we say, God, there is no way things can work out. There is no way that can happen. There is no way this can be fixed. There's no way that I can come up with a solution. And somehow God, we'll see it today, he bends the laws of nature that clearly we can't do that. There's nothing in us that can do that. And again, the difference between something natural and supernatural, natural, if I can accomplish it, it's natural. And the reality is, Dave's going to say, good job, Matt. You did it. And I'll say, in some way, that was to my glory. When I go over here and do something supernatural, Shelley looks at me and says, Matt, there is no way Matt could have done that. I say, exactly. That was supernatural. That goes to God's glory. So I want to figure out how to get from the natural to the supernatural because I believe miracles are in front of us all the time. I literally think God is looking out saying, who is going to let me work through them today to do a miracle? And this guy, Peter, we're going to look at today. I think he was a guy kind of like us. Sometimes our face up, sometimes it's down. Sometimes our confidence in God is there, and sometimes it's not. But Peter, I believe, was a guy who was growing and growing and growing and trying to say, I'm going to increase in my faith in God's way, in God's pace. And I want to take it aside for a second, talk about a guy who was a part of Vision, who had faith like that, who was growing. His name was Patrick Marshall. And if you're here last Sunday, we celebrated Patrick in that he passed away 8 days ago and went to the Lord. He went home to be with the Lord at 29. We say way too early. But in fact, when I went to his funeral this week on Wednesday and had the honor of getting a chance to share at his funeral, and Patrick, a guy that lived and grew in faith and struggled, but walk with the Lord and try to impact people with God's power. And let me tell you this, it was so cool. Our kids back there in Viz Kids were impacted by Patrick. You guys were impacted by Andrea, who sang up here, and Patrick actually did sing up here on Father's Day. But our kids back there, they created cards like these that I took and passed out to the family, that our kids back there are writing cards saying, I love you, Patrick. Our kids back there writing cards saying, God understands. Even when we don't understand, God understands. And then how about this last one, where kids back there writing saying, Jesus and Patrick, and Jesus said, welcome. He said, come on home. And I look at a guy like Patrick and say, he ran his race well. And I think he patterned his life after Peter, who ran his race well and didn't do it all right. But Peter, we see his story in the Bible, and if you're like me, I know you don't want your story in the Bible. Your ups and downs, particularly your downs, you don't want them in the Bible. But Peter's story is in the Bible, and we're going to take a look at his story so that Peter, he had a chance to walk with Jesus. Now, this is interesting. When you think about a miracle, you never know what's going to happen. It's like something around, you're going down the sidewalk, something around the corner that you can't see. Because this week, I want you to read this story in the Bible, the story of Peter, when he had a chance to do something that no other person besides Jesus ever did. He had a chance to bend the laws of nature. He had a chance to walk on water. And this story we're going to look at today, I encourage you, flip back a couple pages, couple chapters to see what happened leading up to it. And I want you guys to give me a little crowd participation in this, because when we're heading toward our miracle, sometimes good things are happening and sometimes bad things are happening. So when I read you these couple things that happened leading up to it, if it was a good thing, say, yay. If it was a bad thing, say, oh. So let's practice one time. So good thing, yay. Okay, bad thing, oh. All right. So leading up to this miracle, Peter and a bunch of people, they get to hear teaching from the Son of God. Good thing. All right. They're in a boat when a huge storm comes up. Okay. In that boat, Jesus tells the wind to settle down and the storm ends. All right? They see Jesus perform multiple miracles, including healings. The crowds in Nazareth, where Jesus was from, they said, get out of here. We don't want to hear that. All right? King Herod had John the Baptist killed. Jesus takes a little bit of fish and a little bit of bread, and he feeds over 5,000 people. Now, the disciples, they're in a boat again. Another storm comes up, threatening their lives. They see Jesus walking toward them. The storm gets worse. Okay, now, this story of Peter. Thought, that was different. Good. Because this next part is really different. All right, let me get my boat guys. Because to tell this story accurately, I need a prop that will help me out. So this prop is going to fit up here. So if you're working with me on this, we're going to kind of squeeze it up here. We got a boat. So Chuck and Richard are going to bring our boat up. Now, the boat they were on felt like that, sounded like that, looked something like that. And it's out in the water. Thank you, guys. So let's pretend that this is our crowd on the shore. All right, this story, I'm actually not going to read it out of Matthew 14. I'm going to kind of tell it. So this is the crowd on the shore, on the shoreline. And little did they know, they're going to get a chance from the shoreline to see a miracle happen. That's pretty exciting. Now, I need some people who are going to be in that boat. So let me get, how about Zach? Why don't you come on up? And I'll grab a couple out of here. Henry, yep, you got your hand up. Come on up. And Mallory as well. Yeah, come on up. So we'll get 4. Y'all climb up in the boat and grab some seats in the boat. So we got our group on the shore. And they see the storm kind of coming, but they're kind of possibly watching this boat. You got this group that got in the boat, and they're heading out on the water. Now, remember, Jesus just got done feeding all these people, doing some amazing miracle, and Jesus goes off on his own, says, get in the boat, go. So Jesus, he knows what's coming. He knows the storm's coming. He says, trust me, just get in the boat. So they get in the boat. They're going across the water. Time's clicking away. It's going into the night. Getting later and later. Storm's picking up. There you go. Yeah, row. There you go. Row, row, row. Okay, good. So they're rowing along. They're not getting anywhere. They're not getting anywhere because of the wind and the waves, and it's actually getting a little bit tense on the boat. All right. Now, things are going to get worse because as they're getting tense on the boat, and I wonder, remember what I told you had happened before? They'd already been through a storm like this, and Jesus had knocked it out. So I wonder, like Henry, let's say kind of you're like our Peter. I wonder if he's sitting in a boat saying, man, where's Jesus at? We did something cool, fed all those people. Well, Jesus fed all those people. We were there passing it out. But we've seen Jesus fix a storm before, and now we're in a boat. We're about to die, and where's Jesus at? And Henry's elbowing Mallory saying, where's he at? We need him now. Remember the timing thing, the perspective thing? Henry's getting itchy, thinking, where's Jesus at? Okay, little do you guys know, things are going to get worse because from your perspective, you're looking out that way. Not only is there a storm, now there's a ghost. And you're like, what? It looks like there is a ghost coming at us. So either the storm's going to take us out, Mallory's going to kick me out, or the ghost is going to get me. So things are not looking good. Now, the ghost is getting closer, and at some point, they start thinking, this looks like Jesus. I think it's Jesus. Wait a second, that might be Jesus. Now, here's an interesting moment, because Henry, if you're in a boat and there's a storm threatening to take you down and you see Jesus, I'm betting probably the first thing you're going to say is, hey, Jesus, stop the storm. Stop the storm. That's not what you said. You might say, Jesus, get us to the shore. Get us to that shore. We can be safe. That's not what you said. In fact, what you said is this water out here, this is symbolic of our water. This water out here, Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come to you. So Henry, make your way through here and come to the end of the boat. And remember, people on the shore, you guys, if you could see this thing, you're kind of catching it. People in the boat, you're watching it up close. But Henry has said, Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come to you, and he does. So step out of the boat. And Henry has left the boat and left these people, left the shore and left those people. And in fact, Henry is the first person besides Jesus to walk on water. I mean, you think about that. I can't imagine how it would feel to get out of a boat. And again, this isn't like a plane of glass water. This is raging water. And somehow he is standing there walking toward Jesus. Now, Henry, I think me and you are similar in the fact that when we start doing that, at some point, it's going to hit us. I'm walking on water. I can't do this. The waves are going to take me down. And that is exactly what happened. Now, I don't think it was, I don't know if they show us in like the movie or something where he just slowly starts drifting down. Honestly, I think it was like someone took your feet out and boom, you're under the water and then you're back up. And you're under the water and you're back up. And you're thinking you are seconds away from drowning and you reach up and say, Jesus, help me. And he does. And he reaches over to you and takes your hand and steps in the boat. So if you would, walk back in the boat. And Jesus puts him back in the boat. And Jesus gets in that boat and he says, let's go on to the shore. And the raging seas are gone. And the miracle has happened. And it's up to us to figure out how we deal with that. All right, so if you guys would, go ahead and take your seats. And I thank you for being part of our boat and part of our miracle. And I think about with Henry and with Peter, how do we experience something like that? Because that really happened. This isn't just a cute prop or, students up here having fun. This really happened. Jesus did that. And so when I think about miracles, the element of God's power plus my faith can cause a miracle. The cool thing, Jesus, he had his power the whole time. He had his power if he was walking in and out of that shoreline crowd. He had his power if he's walking out of the people on the boat. But the element that was missing in the equation was somebody's faith. God's power plus somebody's faith to equal a miracle. And Henry said, okay, I'll take you up on that, Jesus. I will step out on the water and give you my faith to complete that equation to allow a miracle to happen. And so the bottom line question, in this series, we're going to have a question each week. The bottom line question for you is, do I have the faith to allow God to work miracles through me? Have I got the faith? I mean, not huge faith. I mean, it's not like this was some, spiritual giant who knew the whole Bible and quoted it all. This was just a man who said, I think I know Jesus, and I think I know what he can do, and I'm going to take him up on it. And everyone in the boat's like, don't go, I'm not going. He's going. And yes, what Henry got to experience, what Peter got to experience was unlike anything on the shoreline did, anybody else in the boat did. It's God's power plus Henry's faith equal to miracle. So what would a miracle look like in your life now? Because that's really what matters in this. That when you get up tomorrow morning and, okay, you kind of remember a boat, you remember something about Peter, and you're thinking, okay, God, Matt said something about a miracle. Matt doesn't really know my world. I don't know exactly, but I do think I know enough that a miracle in your life, okay, maybe it would help you deal with the anxiety you got that just weighs you down. You say, God, I can't handle this. I cannot handle the anxiety, and the natural efforts I'm doing to fix it, it doesn't fix it. Or maybe say the relationship, oh man, it's always like this. Or there's no talking. Or it's so tense, I can't handle it. God, I need a supernatural fix to that. I need a miracle in your timing, in your perspective, but I need that, God. I need that. You're saying, God, there is not enough money to do what our family needs to do to survive, to live. And God says, I got some ways to figure that out. God, there's not enough time. I am too busy. I'm too overwhelmed. I can't handle that. God says, let me bend the laws of nature. If you give me your faith, I'll bend things to somehow make it work. Say, God, I need a job, or I need a job that's not so stressful, or I need somebody to leave that job I'm at. God says, work with me, and in my timing, my perspective, we'll figure something out. We'll do miracles. Now, God, he wants to work a miracle in you and through you. That excites me. That tomorrow morning, he's going to look at you. He's going to be watching you before you wake up, and when you wake up, he's going to say, you going to walk with me today? Because my power is still there. I want somebody to have that faith that I can work through to do a miracle. And we look at it from God's perspective. I see, it's not going to happen on the shoreline. It's not going to happen in the boat. I think that's part of the progression that we'll grow and move through the process, but we got to get to that point where we'll step out of that boat. And in fact, the title of today's message, it's not get out of the boat, go do it. The title of the message, the world's trying to tell you, stay in the boat. Stay in the boat and don't trust God, and that's your choice. You can stay in the boat. I can stay in the boat. God says, trust my power. Give me your faith. Let's work miracles together. All right, let's pray.